Today's video has kindly been sponsored by myself and my own webshop hsMVY.shop. If you're looking for supplies for the scale model builder, specifically the car modeler, I have tons of detail parts from various brands. I've also just started adding a lot of paints from Tamiya in the XF range, and I have various other kits in stock, and I have also restocked a lot of kits from Tamiya and Aoshima, so please go check out my webshop hsMVY.shop and help support the channel. For today's video, I will be doing a small project on a 1/43 scale die cast. This is one of the final projects I had in the pipeline for a long time, and I wanted to finish off before getting back to the regular schedule. This one might be familiar to some of you. This is from a YouTube channel called The Smoking Tire, and this is Matt Farah's Porsche 718 Boxster Spyder. Now this one is going to be painted and replicated into his custom spec in Frozen Berry Metallic, a pinkish color with a nice red interior. Now first of all, I'm going to be stripping all of the parts off that don't need to be painted, and also some of the parts that are no longer needed in the end of the build. Now I'm going to be building two, one for myself in a little bit of a different spec. I'm just going to keep the interior black and do the rest the same as Matt's car pretty much, apart from some very small details. And the other one that I'm going to be focusing on in this video is going to be fully replicating his car down to the wheels and also the GT4 inlets on the side. So as I said, first of all, the stripping of all of the parts. Then once all of the plastic has been removed from the body, we can start removing all of the paint and getting that ready for the spray booth. So both of the cars will be stripped down with some Zero Paints paint stripper. This is available through Zero Paints and some of their retailers. It can be a little bit hard to get, so I don't really know what the current availability status is. But if you can get it and you like repainting die-cast models, this stuff works wonders. It just rips off the paint in a matter of minutes. Once that was completed, the body was cleaned off, sanded, and could then be moved into the spray booth. Now for spraying some of the primer, I'm using a couple of airbrushes from Neoeco, and I am giving these away in my web shop. I've already done a giveaway on two previous airbrushes that I've used in the video, and those have successfully been given away to very nice customers who are really enjoying those. So if you want your chance at winning one of these Neoeco airbrushes, I have two to give away at the moment. Every 25th order will win one. So there's two more to give away. You just have to place an order in my webshop hsMVY.shop and you will be entered to win. The 25th order will win the airbrush. So with the primer now applied and sanded smooth with some 3000 grit sanding sponges, it was time to apply the color. The color was applied with my trusty old Mr. Hobby PS275, as I've used that a lot in the past and I have a lot of experience with it, and I didn't really want to try out a new airbrush on a build that is this important to me. So for safety's sake, I just used my trusty airbrush and sprayed that with a couple coats of the Frozen Berry. About 2 or 3 coats was more than enough. The first one is nice and light but already starts to show the color really well, and the second one is a little bit heavier and really makes the color come out. A couple coats later and a little bit of dry time has passed, so I could then move on to adding some smaller details with a brush that was simply just easier to brush on instead of masking it all off, and then applying some 2K clear on top of it just to seal it all in and make it nice and glossy. The exterior has now been painted and that is set aside to cure for a couple of days, and my attention could then be put onto the interior. Everything was stripped, as you could see at the beginning of the video, and then primed with some light gray primer, and then I applied some red that was mixed with some black just to tone it down and make it look more like the leather that was used in Matt's Porsche. Not all of the parts were needed to be repainted, so I just left all of the black as is, masked that up, and just focused my attention on the red, and then of course some additional detailing with some brushes, some bellow paints, and a very steady hand. The seats needed to be painted in a two-tone, and that was really hard to mask off, so just like some of the other parts, I decided to do it with a small brush and just apply it. As it was simply just the center part of the seat that is in an Alcantara finish, just using a brush and some flat black paints in this type of scale and size is good enough for me, and just replicates exactly what it was needed to do, so I just did it this way. Same for the back of the seats, those were needed to be done in a silver, just a bit of a brush and some bellow paints, a couple coats later, and it was good enough. I let all of that cure for a little while before starting the reassembly. After finishing off the interior, that was set aside and my attention was focused on the exterior, reassembling all of those parts too, and then of course popping the interior in before moving on to applying all of the chassis parts and the additional details for all of the lights and other stuff all around. The side air inlets on this one are a little bit special, as usually on the Boxster Spyder it is just a black piece, but Matt upgraded his with one to replicate the one from the Cayman GT4, and that has a sort of nice scoop on it, so I stole that from a die-cast that I had, a Cayman GT4, just painted that in the matching color and popped that into place. The final detail that needed to be done was the wheels, as he has some upgraded HRE wheels. Those needed to be printed and also painted. I printed these on the Nova 3D Whale SE using their new night gray resin. This is a water washable resin specifically designed for mecha builds, and also really well works for the scale modeling side of things, as it's a really nice functional resin, very flexible where needed, and also very resistant to scratching and dropping. So it's a really good resin, and if you're interested in checking it out, I will be leaving the links in the description down below. It captured the details of the wheels incredibly well, and I could then simply just paint them, glue them in place, and finish the model off. With the final mirror now put onto the model, this one is finished and can be sent off to Matt to enjoy. If you guys like these kinds of builds, please do let me know down in the comments below which ones you might need to see next, and I'll try to figure something out if I can. Now, of course, this does not take away from any of the regular scale modeling that I used to do on this channel. I will be getting back to that really soon, probably starting next week, getting back to the Fast and the Furious Mitsubishi Eclipse and finishing that one off.